how did Ashton Kutcher and Mila make all their money? How did he become so wealthy being that idiot from That 70s Show or Dude, Where's My Car? Like, how did that guy make a lot of money? We're going to talk about that right now. Welcome back to Money Ripples. This is Chris Miles here. So we're going to talk about Ashton Kutcher. Like, what did you do? Literally hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth. Again, this guy is actually loaded. Who knew, right? Dude, where's his money? Let's talk about that. So in typical Hollywood fashion is you see a lot of these celebrities, they tend to go into business, right? They invest in businesses, not usually their own, but they invest in somebody else's business, like some great idea. They fund it, they kind of become the sugar daddies or the sugar mamas for these companies, and they make money. Ashton Kutcher's no exception, right? He actually invested in things like, you might have heard of these, like Uber, Airbnb, companies like this, actually tech startup companies that he invested in that actually went big. And he's even been a guest star on Shark Tank, which we'll actually be talking about later in this video as well. So this guy is actually pretty brilliant, despite what his characters tend to have him acting like. He's actually a pretty smart guy. The one big thing I want to also get into as well is, how did he invest? How is his investing different than what everybody else is telling you to do? I like to follow evidence. I like to know that things work, don't you? We like to know that things are proven to work. We're gonna dig into that later in this video as well.
Pitched Uber before Uber ever raised a single dollar. So Travis, the CEO of the company, we saw him at South by Southwest. And he started pitching me this company where a black car would just show up and pick you up. And who's gonna want a black car? Like, just take a cab. And he's like, no, but you just push a button. And it's like, well, why do they have to be black cars? Can't they just be any car? And I passed on it. And then the more I started to realize what it was and that there was a product market fit there, I went, holy smokes, this is gigantic, and called Travis back up. I would say the same thing happened, like probably the first time I heard about Airbnb. I went, who's gonna want a stranger sleeping on their couch? Like, isn't that a little is like couch surfing or like what? Like, and I think that great companies, Peter Thiel actually wrote a book on this. He was talking about how the foundation of, oftentimes the foundation of great companies are extraordinarily counterintuitive, where the founders have some data nodes that would suggest that the intuition relative to a certain sector is wrong, or that there's some fundamental intuition that is wrong, and that when you unveil that fundamental intuition to be wrong, you actually find an entire pasture of green grass that nobody else is building in, because there's a fundamental intuition that has been an assumption of so many people for so long that they've never actually built into that sector. And thus, new sectors are born.
One of the things I love about that video, especially talking about the counterintuitive nature. Now, I know he was quoting Peter Thiel, but
it's true. It's not true.
Like, many times the financial advisor world is always about buy mutual funds, pay off your debt, and that's their only answer. And then we come in saying, no, don't do it. In fact, that stuff pretty much won't get you anywhere that you want to go. Look at this whole other world. We could buy like real estate investments in this whole other world where maybe debt is not always bad. What if you could use debt actually to create more wealth faster? And maybe you can use that to go buy and get into a business like what Ashton Kutcher is doing, right? What if you could do those things to actually create freedom in your life now? Like we talked about, live your life now, not tomorrow, right? What if that could be possible? And he's right, it opened up this whole new green pasture, this whole other space that when we look at, well, who's really there competing with us? There's people that talk about it, but there's nobody that actually helps people walk them through it. And that's the one thing I do love, and I agree. If there's anything I've learned in the business space, that sometimes your biggest competition isn't another company. Sometimes your biggest competition is actually the industry, because there's a certain norm or standard, and you gotta break that standard. You gotta educate them to look at something with a different view or a different lens. Speaking of which, if you want to figure out how you can actually create passive income now, not waiting 30 or 40 years to retire, you can actually click on the link in the description below and try our passive income calculator to actually see in your situation what you could be creating in passive income in the next 12 months using your money to work harder for you, so you don't have to work hard for your money. So click on that link in the description below. This article we're gonna read here about Ashton Kutcher is gonna talk about what are the 3 traits that he looks for in finding a great investment or a great business. All right, so when investing in a company, Ashton looks for these 3 things. Number 1, he says, appealing founders with whom he and his partners actively want to work. Notice the very first thing he says here, it's not about the investment, it's about the investor. Something I teach all the time is that you're investing in people, not things. So he's looking at those founders saying, and notice he says appealing founders. Like, now I'm not saying like he's peeling off founders, right? Like that's kind of gross now I say it like that. And it doesn't mean they have to be like super magnetic or charismatic. That's not what he's saying. He's talking about those that have like a unique vision, something that looks different, that it just has this unique look to it. Like it draws them in. That's what he means by appealing founders. And they won't actively want to work with them. Notice that actively, not just passively. Number 2, it's a problem-solving mission statement oriented around saving or enriching time. So his big thing is about saving time, right? Like saving or making time better. That's why he loves the tech industry. He loves things that make life more efficient, that gives you your life back. That's part of his own personal mission that he wants to, again, agree with their mission. So he's looking for values that share with his values as well. Very important when you're looking for investments. Number 3 is that it's a business model that can be boosted by their own involvement. So this is important. I think this number 3 is so critical right now because many people just think, oh, if I can just set it and forget it, put my money and just hope that it works. Please, I hope this works somehow. Do I have money coming in? I don't know. They hope that it works, but it really doesn't. Notice he says by putting his involvement in. This is like what we talk about with Ryan Reynolds. He puts his own charisma, he puts his own humor into the marketing and the branding of that company. They're also talking about what can they do with their involvement to not just maximize returns, but protect his money. That's what he wants to do. If you can get involved in a company in some way, shape, or form to protect your investment, that's way different than someone going and buying a cruddy little Microsoft or Google stock or Meta or Apple or something like that, or Amazon. You're buying these stocks that you have zero say in. You have no involvement at all, hoping and praying that please let this thing go up and hope that the stock gods of the world will smile profoundly upon me. That's what you're wishing for. But in truth, that's not how it works in the investing world. True investors get involved. They put some of their time and energy into it as well as their money, and that is what gets them the biggest returns they can possibly get. All right, so here's 3 more lessons you can learn from Ashton Kutcher that I found in my research here. So number 1, like I mentioned before, know who you're investing with. You must know who it is. It's not about the investment, it's about the investor. Even if it's a business owner, you need to know who you're investing with. Are they emotionally stable or not? You know, when I hear people talking about Elon Musk and some of his interviews where he has like 2 hours of sleep, I can tell you people go crazy being that sleep deprived. That for me personally, I would never want to invest in something that Elon Musk would want to be a part of. Now, a lot of people do because they love his vision and there's other reasons why to invest with him. But for me, if they're not taking care of their health, they're not going to be around anyways, and it's going to destroy their lives. So know who you're investing with. Number 2, he talked about detecting that fundamental intuition, like the thing that's actually wrong, to find that whole new green pasture. Who's got that unique niche, that unique problem to solve that people didn't even realize was a problem in the first place? That right there is gold, because when they talk about being on the front, the leading edge, right? The front runner, or being ahead of the curve, being those kind of like those outliers, right? When you're that person that's ahead of the curve, when you're already leading the curve, those are the people that make the most money. The people that make the least money are those that jump in after the news and the media, especially social media, have already talked about it. At that point, there's not really money to be made. That's when it's done. That's why so many average people lose a lot of money. And then number 3, he talks about, he likes to invest in domain experts. Those that actually have an expert in their field. They are the king or the queen of their field or their industry. He looks for those experts, and that's one of his criteria. So remember, 1 is know who you're investing with. 2, what is it they do that's kind of against the grain that brings a whole new aspect to the industry, or even a brand new industry for that matter. And then 3, who is the expert of their domain? Okay, and guess what? We got a bonus 4th answer for you here. Why Ashton Kutcher is kind of freaking awesome. Check out this clip that we're gonna watch from a Shark Tank episode that he was a part of.
Here's the thing, you're belittling people, and that's not okay. Yeah,
I'm asking a question and I want an answer. It doesn't matter.
She gave you an answer. And if her answer's not suitable, that's fine, but you don't have to belittle people.
I'm not belittling you. I'm asking you why it can be big, because that's the only reason even you're not going to.
I'll tell you why it could be big. I'll tell you why it could be big.
You're not going to write a check, though.
I think that what you have is extraordinary.
So what's that 4th thing that you see from Ashton? He's not willing to poo-poo on somebody's dream. He's willing to see that. So in a way, Ashton's kind of his own visionary. He sees the vision. He sees what's possible, which is why he went so early into something as crazy as like Uber, picking up in a black car, or couch surfing on Airbnb, right? Which obviously is not any of those things. It became so much more than that. It's having that vision of seeing what's possible in the future. I'm telling you, in business in general, being a visionary is so important. If you're gonna lead a company, that is the thing that's gonna allow you to not just dominate your profession, but it allows you to be ahead of the curve. You seem like you're always just one step ahead of everybody else because you have that vision and you see what it is. And the fact is that he stuck it to Mr. Wonderful, which I know Mr. Wonderful in reality is a great guy, very kind of a humble type of guy, but he's got a persona. He's got a persona that he's kind of a jerk. I like the fact that Ashton stood up and said, listen, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I can see where this is going. I'm gonna put my money there. To heck with you, Mr. Wonderful, to put it nicely. I'm gonna invest in this thing. So do you wanna invest like Ashton Kutcher, or at least make money like Ashton Kutcher does? Well, go see this next video that's got 4 passive investments that you could actually be doing for yourself today.